Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on Microsoft Fabric. My name is Francis Defay. I'm the CMO here at Codit, and I'm very excited to have you today as we're going to dive into the world of Microsoft Fabric. Now, we all know that businesses face an increasingly complex data landscape today. The ability to analyze and to act on data efficiently has never been more critical. Now, with Microsoft Fabric, you can have a unified data and analytics platform that simplifies data management, improves collaboration across teams, and drives insights, all powered through Microsoft Azure. Now, today, my colleague Steven Delosne, he's the IoT lead and AI lead here at Codit. He will introduce you into the key features and capabilities that Microsoft Fabric offers. Now, feel free to ask questions throughout this session, and therefore you can use the Q&A tool. Steven will have a look at your questions at the end of this webinar and then answer these as well. And with that said, let's get started. Steven, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Francis, for the introduction. So this is really an introduction about Microsoft Fabric. So I will briefly go over what Fabric exactly is, what are the different experiences we will have, and then give a little bit an introduction on OneLake, because this is really the driving force of the complete Microsoft Fabric ecosystem, to then give you some inspiration on the next steps that you want to take in your journey when going further with Microsoft Fabric. But first, let's look at Microsoft Fabric as a product. So if we look at the data landscape today, then we see that a lot of organizations are struggling to get their data projects up and running, mostly because the data is a little bit everywhere. And to set up a data platform at the moment, you really need to have a lot of data services and analytic services to be able to manage all of your data and to process all of your data. Comes on top that you need to govern everything to know where which data is located and who can use it and who has access to that data. This makes it all very difficult to scale and to make it compliant within your organization, which is again like a hurdle for organizations to start with the data platform, data use cases. And that's also what we then see in the market a little bit, is that different departments within an organization try to do something by themselves, not like steered from the organization completely, which then brings that we create like data silos, so that every part of the organization is doing something with a piece of the data, but it's not like shared across the organization, which should be more beneficial, because otherwise you may end up with copies or with duplicates or with slightly different data sets, so you don't have a single source of truth. If you have then one single data platform, it will also enhance all of your analytics capabilities, because if you have nicely governed structured data already, the possibilities are endless with analytics on top of it, which will also accelerate the use of your data and the insights that you can effectively have out of your data. If you look a little bit at the market, then on what other companies or organizations are doing, then we see that a lot of organizations are effectively already thinking about setting up some centralized data and analytics center of excellence to support a little bit all of the initiatives that people and within the organizations are having based on the data and analytics use cases which they are thinking of. But most of the things get a little bit stuck with setting up the data platform itself. It's organizations can find out good use cases and can think about it and know where the data is, but then effectively integrating the data, managing that data, and effectively getting some insights out of the data, that's where they are currently a little bit stuck, because it requires a lot of infrastructure, data governance, and the right expertise to be able to perform all of these tasks. Important word here is the federated data and analytics center of excellence, because we want to not centralize all of the use cases in one central team, because then you are losing a little bit the value of your business owners, and you're also putting a lot of pressure onto that single team. So you really want to like federate it still, which we will come back on a little bit later, how that will all be possible within Microsoft Fabric. If you look, then we also see that even the market is still accelerating in doing data and AI project. We already see that, for example, 32% of the organizations are already able to get some tangible insights out of the data with the use of analytics and making sure that they have all of their data present. But still, they think that a lot of these organizations also still need to invest a lot more to really get all of their potentials out of their data and data. So that's really like still accelerating. And then once they have that data, it's also very important that they also take the next step, because the more data they have, the more analytics and AI they can put on top of there to even find out more business intelligence out of the data. But here is a little bit the problem that we are facing today. So the market is really exploding on tools and platforms and data stores and analytics engines and analytics platforms, where we see that you can really like pick whatever you need. The problem is that you need to stitch everything together, that you need to take, for example, the right infrastructure with the right analytics tools, with the right data engine tools, with the right machine learning tools. Then you need to have the DevOps tools on top of that. You need to have integration services to be able to ingest all of your data. So really it's like a complete swamp where you need to pick from. And this is a little bit one of the, let's say, hurdles that organizations are facing today. They don't really know where to start, how to start, and if they want to start, it can be already a large investment to be able to set up just the infrastructure. Then they even don't get the data in, and they don't get the data insights out of it. So they will already need to invest a lot of money to do this. And that's also what we hear in the field. We have now the data chief data officer. That is really like his job is to look into the data and to centralize all of the data to get a good data governance. But he don't want to be bothered with everything, with integration, with infrastructure setup, with all of the other stuff that should be quick, easy to set up, so he can really focus on getting the data in the right shape, so the business users can get effectively their insights out of it. And that's where also Microsoft has listened to the market and really like came up with a product that could like facilitate everything that an organization wants or needs, but in a single software as a service solution, where we bring all of these experiences together in one central application, so the business and the professional people can effectively use them side by side. And this is what Microsoft Fabric is all about. So they have just like bundled the 7 experiences all together, depending on which role or persona you are taking. You can just open one of these experiences from a very nice UI interface, and then you can choose to do it low code, to have AI assistant in there, or if you are really still experienced with it, you can do the full coding yourself, depending on which experiences you are opening. Very important here is that everything is like feeded on a lake-centric and open format, meaning they have introduced one lake, so all of the data is centralized into one single storage layer, which is used by these 7 experiences, meaning that you don't need to copy data from one location to the other, or transforming it or giving access rights across different storage accounts, for example, and copying them over. It's fully integrated into your Microsoft Office 365 environment, so managing users, giving them access, giving them specific roles and responsibilities within the Microsoft Fabric platform is very easy, and it comes with all of the features that you effectively require to build a good structured platform, a data platform, which has everything in there, going from integration to processing to analytics, up until the reporting and the dashboarding, but also the more invisible things like data ops, DevOps, CI/CD to do your deployment. So if you have something in dev and you want to put it into production, that goes all automatically. And then, of course, also all of the monitoring and security features are in there to be able to govern your complete platform. So you see when things are going wrong, when things are using a lot of compute, for example, that is costing you a lot of money, but also making sure that all the data is properly labeled, that people cannot access sensitive data, for example, and that you can also share data easily because the whole Microsoft Fabric is built on API first, meaning that you can quickly manage or integrate or share things across different platforms. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the Fabric experiences because there is a lot under the hood. So as already mentioned, we have 7 experiences and we will just briefly go over all of them. The first one is Data Factory. It's always related a little bit also to the Azure PaaS service that you can also find back if you want to set up your data platform by using different separate infrastructure. But in Microsoft Fabric, they have included the complete Data Factory suite, meaning that you can integrate all of your data into the platform by leveraging over 200 native built-in connectors, making it easy to integrate your SAP system, your CRM system, your ERP system, other cloud-based systems, API systems into the platform, making sure that you can integrate the data, pre-process it already with Power Query, for example, and this all on a scale up to petabytes of data that you can then store into the OneLake data storage, so the other experience can effectively use it also. So this is purely for mostly integrating. You can do some low-code data transformation with the Dataflow Gen 2 version out of it, but this is really low code, drag and drop. You click some, you put some building blocks together, you make the connections, and your data will be flowing into the platform. This will be used mostly for real-time data, for batch data integration. So things that you will do every 10 minutes, once a day, once a week, once a month, and then this is the tool for you at the moment. Next, once your data is in there, you need to start processing that data. So you need to transform it, you need to clean it, you need to do the proper transformations. You need to maybe combine some data, do some feature extracting and things like that. And that's where you will be using data engineering, which is actually now also part of the Synapse experience in Azure. So here you can use a Spark server to run all of your workloads using low code, or you can write Python, SQL, and all of those kind of languages that you prefer into your notebooks. And then you can also integrate those notebooks into the Data Factory experiences. So when you're integrating data, the data is immediately also processed and also properly stored afterwards. Making it very easy to schedule all of your notebooks, making it sure that you can monitor them, that you get the insights out of them, how long they run, how much data they have processed. And this can all run on servers that are immediately available for you. So the waiting time is less than, for example, in an Azure Synapse environment, where it can take some time to spin up a cluster. In Fabric, the clusters are mostly already pre-configured for you, so they can start more quickly when they are required. Next, we also have the data warehouse. So if you're familiar with data warehousing, this is where you really build your semantic layer on top of it, making sure that the data is understandable, that it's usable, and that you can quickly and easily query it for your reporting purposes, for example. Here we are still using the OneLake storage. So this is actually a storage account Gen 2. So a cheap but scalable and quickly accessible storage account. It's not like a fully SQL database that's running, but because of the whole setup and the whole structure and how the data is stored within that one lake, we can effectively build like a data warehouse on top of it, which is actually then integrating all of your relations, all of your semantic model on top of it, using then the Delta Parquet, which I will come back on a little bit later, but which makes that you have the performance to do querying, for example, in Power BI and things like that, using your normal SQL or T-SQL. Again, this is because between those experiences and the one lake, there is their serverless compute layer, which makes it possible that independently of which language you prefer, the serverless compute will make sure that he can access the same data underneath. So you don't need to transform it, copy it, or whatever. All the data stays nicely into one lake using the Parquet Delta format. Next, once you have your data processed, your features there, you may want to do some analytics on top of that. So within the Fabric experience, we also have the data science persona that you can effectively enable, which is also part of Synapse, but also about within Azure Machine Learning Studio. So here you can really like train models, publish models, monitor them, do the whole lifecycle management of your model. You can make models available through API endpoints, so you can then call them within your applications, within your other reports or stuff like that, to run them in real time, monitor their performance, and if the performance is getting worse, you can retrain them, publish a new version, and then you can just update the version within your API endpoint and use the new model in there. This is all featured with MLflow, so also here Microsoft is a little bit going into the direction of open source tools, making sure that they are always having the latest tools in there, so you can use them right away when you're starting your data science experiences. Again, everything can then also be integrated into your notebooks, into your integration pipelines, for example, that if some data is coming in, you do your data cleaning, you do your data model prediction, for example, and you store the data again in there, all very easily from within the same experience. Next one is real-time analytics. So everything which I currently told was mostly on batch data or data that you do from time to time, but there are also use cases where you may want real-time analytics, meaning you want the data to be ingested in real time and then also evaluated and ready for querying for in a dashboard in near real time, let's say. Here we are using partially the Synapse/Azure Data Explorer functionality, where we are using a very optimized storage principle, which stores all of the data in real time, which is optimized for data ingestion. So you really can scale up to petabytes of data that can be ingested in real time. So it's ready for analysis. And for the analysis, we are using the Custo query language, where you then have a rich feature set of built-in functionality to do, for example, pattern recognition, trend prediction, anomaly detection, users or root cause analysis. There's a whole suite of functionalities that's already pre-built for you, which you can leverage within the Custo query language. So you really can dive directly into your data set and then building scripts out of there so you can run them in real time when the data comes in and store them again into the real-time databases underneath. Again, the real-time databases will be again on one lake, so also that real-time data can later on be used in your data engineering experiences or in your data science experience as well, without having to do something specifically with the data. In the real-time analytics, there is also the possibility to build real-time dashboards, so you can build dashboards that are almost automatically updating every 5-10 seconds with new data that's coming in really easily with drag and drop without having to program a lot. You just need to write a little bit a KQL query that will query your databases, that will, for example, take the time window, filter some data out of there, and then you can make a table or a plot in real time onto the dashboard. Next up, this is all where it a little bit started from, but Microsoft Fabric is fully integrating Power BI, so really the reporting functionality is right besides all of your other tools, and is also optimized to integrate directly into OneLake, so you can reuse the data that you have processed and that you have stored into, for example, your data warehouse directly into your Power BI experience. It has also some AI capabilities built in there. For example, you can ask an AI model to look at the semantic model that you have built in your data warehouse and then ask it, for example, to build a complete report out of it. And it will try to figure out all of the relationships, what will be the most useful information for a report, and then draft up your complete report automatically. Again, making it very easy for especially business users that they can do these kind of things once the data has been prepared for them, that they can use this out of the box without having to know all of the ins and outs of the platform to be able to build a report. Last one is Data Activator. So this is a new tool on the block. It was not yet part of the Azure environment as well, but this is really to monitor your operational dashboards. For example, if you have a Power BI report where data is coming in, you can set some alert or some triggers that will look at the data, and when, for example, a certain threshold is crossed, or when something is happening in an event stream, or when something some small business logic that you can evaluate when that is happening, you can then send, for example, an email or a Teams meet or a Teams chat message. So you can inform people that maybe they need to go and look to the dashboard, or maybe they need to do and take some other action to be able to look at maybe potential issues within the data. This is all, again, from a very low-code, no-code experience. So you just say, look at this event stream, look at this report, create me an alert on top of that, and make sure that it ends up in my mailbox, or that it is there to in my Teams channel, so I can react on it without having to refresh my dashboard or look at it constantly to look if something is happening. You can then also integrate it with Power Automate, for example, to do more advanced stuff or to trigger something else in there. But this is really a new experience on top of the other ones to make everything work. So again, these experiences are all running on serverless compute, meaning that all of the experiences can very quickly request new compute to be able to scale also in every direction depending on your needs, and depending on which experience you are in, a different serverless compute will be used. So it can actually, for example, if you are more experienced in data warehousing and SQL writing, it will spin up a SQL serverless compute that will be able to do the translation into the OneLake, because there everything is stored in a single format. So the serverless compute is really there to be able to translate everything from your experience to your OneLake storage account. It scales, it's assigned to your workspace, which I'll come back on a little bit later, but everything is organized according to workspaces. So every use case you want to implement, you will create a workspace, and then you can assign some serverless compute into there. Most of them are also memory optimized. So if you're doing a lot of queries on the same data, he will be able to do some caching and to do some other stuff. So you may have some gains there in response times. Then this is the key feature. So the OneLake, it's actually called the OneDrive for data. So this is really where all of your data will be ending up. So no duplicates, nothing where you copy the data. There is only one OneLake, which is built on storage account Gen 2 from Azure, being able to make sure that all of the 7 experiences are using the same data underneath. A little bit like you have OneDrive. OneDrive is also integrated into all of your Office 365 tools. So you don't need to copy one file to another to be able to access it, for example, from Word into PowerPoint or something or somewhere else. It's just there. It also integrates with other third-party storage accounts. So you can, for example, make shortcuts or do mirroring so data ends up there. So it looks like it's physically there, but logically there, but physically it's located somewhere else, but you can access it as it was like physically stored into your OneLake, which makes it again very easy to integrate into your 7 experiences. And it's all organized in a hierarchical namespacing, meaning that it's also optimized for querying. So you can very easily find out where the data is located and how to use it effectively into your data engineering or data science experience. And of course, if you have this huge platform with this 7 experiences on top of it and this huge OneLake underneath there needs to be a good governance and security structure. So the governance for the 7 experiences is completely centralized in the administration portal, meaning that you can say who has access to what, who can use how many compute. And then also on the data itself, for example, everything is integrated with Microsoft Purview. So making sure that data is labeled, that data is trackable so that the lineage is known and things like that. You can also do there if you want network integration. So if you want to make sure that everything that there is, for example, still a part in Azure, for example, that you network integrated so that nothing is going over the public network. And making also sure that everything is governed correctly, so that, for example, if a certain business unit is publishing some data or something, or has a data set which is publishing ready, they are putting it into a data catalog, for example, so it's shareable and discoverable for others. Now, lastly, let's look a little bit deeper into OneLake, because this is really the key feature of Fabric. As already mentioned, OneLake, there is only one single OneLake under your complete Fabric experience. So you cannot set up different storage accounts. You can set up different storage accounts, but then it's in Azure. But if you use the OneLake, there is only one for your complete organization, because you only have one Fabric instance for your complete organization as well. And then they still want to follow the principle of a mesh setup in the data platform, meaning that you will make your different business units, even if they are using one single platform, that they can have their own separate playground within that big OneLake, and that they can have their own data sets in there without others having access to them. And this is where the domains come in. So they are defining, you can define within Microsoft Fabric domains, subdomains, which will then make different logical groupings into your OneLake, meaning that all of your data will be structured in those domains. So now, for example, the sales domain cannot see the marketing data or vice versa. If they are interested, they can make some kind of a data contract where they are saying, okay, for example, sales needs to have some marketing data, so they are negotiating a data sharing contract, where then marketing, for example, says, okay, you can have this data, I will provide it to you, and then sales can read that data, transform it again into the specific data set that they require. So the advantage here is that it's still on one lake, so there is so it's all in the same physical storage account. So it's not because they are saying, okay, we have an agreement, or we say that we can share the data, that there physically needs to be made a copy. We just say, okay, you can have access to the contract that we have created, but we don't need to copy it. So you can immediately just access it just because it's on that one lake. So again, fully governed, and all of the experience are just stepping into there. So sales can then use data engineering and data integration, for example, and marketing is maybe more into data science. It's all fine. They just use that OneLake underneath there. This is a little bit how it's working. So this is also why the OneLake storage is decoupled from the server compute. So really, depending on which experience you are using, the different serverless compute will be used. And then that serverless compute will make the translation, depending if you are using, for example, Spark or KQL, that he can access the OneLake, and in OneLake, everything is stored as Delta Parquet format, which is optimized for querying, which has all of the versioning, all of the ACID compliance in there, so your data can be updated, deleted, and things like that in a fashionable way. This is also where then it comes in how Fabric is billing you. So you are billed by gigabyte that you're storing into your OneLake, which is quite cheap, let's say, because it's just Gen 2 storage account. So that's all fine. And then on top of that, you need to buy a compute capacity to be able to run whatever experience that you want. So you just buy a bucket of compute capabilities. And then depending on how many use cases and how many domains you require, you can calculate how much you will buy or provision upfront. And then you can use them like you want according to that month, for example. So it's really you are paying those two things to be able to make the full Fabric experience work for you. And then, so here, for example, the separation is there. So for example, as data engineering, I'm more like into T-SQL. Okay, then you are really like, if this is working, yes. Then you are really like, okay, I'm using T-SQL, for example, and then he will translate it and he will make it available for the experience. So really, everything is fully automated, or the serverless compute takes care of that, so you can access the same storage. You don't need to copy it, for example, from a storage account where data engineering are working into a SQL pool. If you want to do data warehousing, everything stays onto the same one. Okay. So this was a brief introduction. So really a big, huge SaaS platform where you can do your complete data and AI use cases without having to worry about infrastructure. The only thing you need to be worried about first is setting up your governance and making sure that everything is nicely organized. So if, for example, you have your domains, you have all the people that can access only their domain, everything structured, monitored, and things like that. And then you can really dive into the data integration, data processing, and building maybe already some analytics use cases on top of that. So you normally can get started very quickly with setting up a Fabric experience. So, and we at Codit have a couple of options here, or we do like a deep dive meeting with you where we like discuss, do you already have found some use cases? How do you see them being, for example, integrated into Fabric? How do I, for example, set up that domain strategy? How do I set up my governance model? You have, for example, the medallion architecture where I have some bronze, silver, gold data sets. How do I do the cleaning and things like that? Then we can go into like these deep dive meetings with you to get you a little bit inspired, to give you like a kickstart on maybe identify the right use case to firstly implement. And then if this is done, we can, for example, then do a pilot program where you can request to modernize or to create a new app or solution in a proof of concept or an MVP kind of way, where we really like also build something on top of the Microsoft Fabric platform. Here we can effectively use co-funding with Microsoft because we are the Azure specialization in analytics. So we can always look with Microsoft if part of this program can also be sponsored by them. If you are interested in one of these two possible solutions, you can always contact us and we will get in touch with you to see what your next steps will be within the Microsoft Fabric environment. So just to wrap up and to give a little bit an overview of what the Microsoft Fabric is. So it's a complete analytics platform. So it goes from data integration to data processing to AI to building reports and dashboards out of it, all from a single user experience, fully delivered as a SaaS solution. So you don't need to be worried about infrastructure scaling and all of that kind of stuff. It is based on a lake-centric and open standard. So all of your data is stored into one lake. So no more copying data from one storage account to the other, from one SQL server to another. Everything is nicely stored into one single layer, making it very easy to be used across the different experiences, but also everything is fully open in format and API based, so you can very also quickly share it with others. It's all very low code and no code even at some point, really to make sure that also your business users can use this tool like it was one of their office applications, so that they can build reports on top of the data, or that they can do some very easy transformations when required to look at that data. And of course, it wouldn't be a Microsoft product if it was not AI powered. So there are some Copilot functionalities in there to be able to assist you with writing code, or to be able to assist you with creating a report out of all of your data that you have effectively gathered. So it's really a one-off platform that you require to do all of your data and AI code use cases within your organization, where you can then also leverage the complete data mesh functionality without having to worry about all of the infrastructure that is normally required to set up this kind of data mesh structure. So with this, I will end the presentation, and I think we still have a couple of minutes left for some Q&A, which I could
indeed. So thank you, Steven, for sharing your insights and giving this overview of Microsoft Fabric. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can use, of course, the Q&A tool. I see already one question, Steven, so have a look already, so you can answer this live. Now, should you have any further questions that would pop up one of the coming days or even weeks, just reply to the email that you will get with the recording. We'll be very happy to help you and assist you if any further information should be required.
Maybe Francis, can you maybe just share the question, because I cannot really.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a question. The question is: can one lake be connected or mounted to my Windows File Explorer?
Yeah, yes, it can indeed. So you can connect your one lake as it was like a OneDrive into your File Explorer. So actually you can store whatever data format on there. So you can store JSON, CSVs, Excel, Word. You can store them physically, effectively on one lake, because it's just a storage account. But next to those file formats, you will also find a lot of Delta Parquet formats where then your real data is in there, but you can mount it onto your Windows Explorer in there to be able to quickly access them also from there. So that's physically possible.
Thank you, Steven. At the moment, I don't see any further questions. So as said, if you have any further questions, just hit the reply button to the recording that you will get, and we will take your question via email. With that, I would like to conclude this webinar. I would like to thank you for your assistance here at this webinar. I would like to thank, of course, Steven for hosting this webinar. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.